know your primary colours. Have you ever wondered, I want to start watercolour painting. I'm really not quite sure how many colours I need to go and buy. Well, I'm going to answer some of those questions and bust some myths along the way. Whether you want to paint landscapes, animals, flowers, still lifes, you just need these 3 colours to get you on your way. So stay tuned. My lessons that I teach focus on using just 3 primary colours and a couple of additions that I use from time to time. So colour theory is a big subject matter. You may have read books on it, seen numerous YouTube videos about colour theory. Well, let's keep things really simple. Hue. Hue's a word that you hear a lot. What does hue mean? Well, hue is simply the colour. Phthalo blue, magenta, yellow, green, red, etc. Hue is just the descriptive name of the colour. So then we think about another word that gets bandied around, intensity. What are they talking about when they talking intensity? Intensity is just the dilution of the watercolour. So I've got my magenta here and you can see the intensity at one end is really strong, using the colour primarily from the tube with just a little water going through, adding water as you go to change the intensity and therefore the strength of the colour. So that's hue, that's intensity. Now the really confusing one is temperature. What on earth are they talking about? Temperature. Let's have a little look. So here I've got some simple colour swatches, and hopefully just by eye you'll see that on one side I've got some nice warm reds, oranges, a yellow, and then on the cool side we're going through the blues, greens. That's not to say that you can't get a cool red or you can't get a warm green. You can, but keeping things simple, it's whether that colour is more towards yellow on the colour wheel or more towards the blues. And if you keep that in mind, you'll be fine when it comes to temperature. So, primary colours. What are our primary colours? Well, at school everyone was told red, yellow and blue were our primary colours. Is that true? Go and have a look in your printer at home. Check the colour cartridges. Are they using red or are they using magenta? So I want to break that theory that we were all taught at school that red is a primary colour. What is a primary colour? What is, if you look up in the dictionary, what does it say a primary colour is? It will say that a primary colour is one that can't be mixed from any other colours. Okay, so how do you mix red? I'll show you. So we'll take, in my case, my primary colours include magenta, quinacridone magenta, to give it its full name. I'm going to pop some here on my palette. Beautiful pinky vibrant colour, and that, as we say, is what you will see when you open up your printer. And let's face it, our printers are capable of reproducing photographs in full colour, so therefore why aren't we taught to use magenta? Who knows? Okay, so let's see if we can mix red. So the next thing, clean my brush out. I'm going to dip into my yellow. Now the yellow I choose to use for my primaries is one called Hands the Yellow. I'll just paint it down here. Beautiful, like a lemon yellow. You could use a lemon yellow if you can't get hold of Hands the Yellow. Lovely bright yellow. Now let's introduce that yellow a little bit at a time into our magenta. You can see I was doing it earlier here on my palette. but we'll do it together. Pop that in. I've added a little bit too much water from my brush, so I'm just going to go again so I can get this nice and strong. And there we have our red in its true form. So why does this matter? Why should you not use red and switch to using magenta? Have you ever mixed a purple that you're unhappy with? I'm sure you have. I have. And I'm going to show you what happens when you use a red. I've got some Pyrrole red here in this other palette. So I'm going to take my Pyrrole red onto the palette and I'm going to mix it with phthalo blue, which is the blue that I include as my primary. Phthalo blue is part of the cyan family, and the full name includes the word cyan and phthalo. That's after lots of testing, I found phthalo blue to be the best blue to use to get really clean, beautiful colours when they're mixed. So let's take a little bit of my blue and mix it in with the red. We're starting to get some purples, a little bit more. You want about a 50-50 mix. And here's my purple. Now, I'm going to add a bit more red back in. Perhaps I didn't put enough red in. Here we go. It's a purple, it's kind of a damson. It's a nice colour and it has its uses for sure. I'm adding a little bit of red each time. And we've got our purples, our damson-y colours. Now let's see what happens when we use magenta as our primary. So I have my puddle here. I'm just going to mix this all together now and wipe my palette out so it's nice and clean from that red. Okay, and we're going to use magenta. We're going to do the same thing again, but this time with magenta instead of red. You see there's no trickery. You can see everything that I'm doing. And my blue. Touch more red back in there. And let's have a look at this purple. Beautiful, vibrant, sharp. Unlike the other side, I'm going to add a little bit more blue, get a variety of purple so you can see. Touch more blue in there. And then we'll take some more magenta and take it the other way. But each time you will see that these purples and pinks are super vibrant compared to those. I'm just going to lift this up. The studio lights can affect what you're seeing. There we go. These are grey. There's grey tones in there. These are pure, beautiful, vibrant purples. So the reason you may be struggling when you're mixing violets and purples is because your red, unbeknown to you, has yellow in it. And yellow means that we were actually mixing magenta, yellow and blue. What happens when you mix all three primaries together? You will get a neutral colour. A neutral, earthy, beautiful colour, but not necessarily the one that you're trying to mix. So you can change the way your paintings come to life by making that one change. Switch your red to a magenta or a crimson. A cool pinky red is what you need as your base. As I say, after all my research, quinacridone magenta works really well for me. Have a try and see what works well for you. So should we have a look at the whole colour wheel then? Let's have a look at our colour wheel. So we'll start with the primary colours, magenta. We're going to pop magenta at the top here. Now little triangle cheese shape. Magenta cheese. And then we're going to go to, where should we go next? So let's go to our yellow. We're going to pop that about a third of the way down here. And then our primary blue, which as you know now, in my case, is Fairy Blue. And we'll pop that to the other third of our colour wheel. Beautiful, vibrant, lovely primary colours. Okay, so after primary comes secondary. Secondary colours are simply a mix of those two together, like you would have done at school. But in this case, we're using magenta. So we're going to take a 50-50 mix of magenta and yellow as our starting point. 50-50, roughly, to make our orange. And we'll pop that midway between our primary magenta and yellow. Clean your brush out, and we're going to go again. This time we're going to do our magenta and our blue, which I've already done here. So we've got our purple. Pop that midpoint between your cheeses. And lastly, we're going to do the same with our green, our yellow and blue. Roughly 50-50 mix, and in we go. So you'll know these colours you'll hear referred to as secondary. Let's make a note of that. So we've got P, primary, 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 secondary, secondary, secondary. Then we come to the tertiary colours, which basically means free. So we're going to change these colours slightly by using the colour next to it to get another variety of, so we'll start with the orange. So here, where we've got our orange, mixed 50-50 mix, we'll take a bit more yellow, because that's next to it, add that to our puddle, and we'll paint down a bit more vibrant. You can see it's a bit more zesty. Our tertiary orange. Now I'm going to go back into the puddle here twice. I'm going to put red back in to go back to the orange, to our secondary. Then a bit more. And this is where you'll see that magic happen, where we create our own red. There we have our red. So traditionally you'll see red in the place here of primary on the colour wheel. Now you know that's not the case. It's not the primary colour. And we're just going to carry on round. So now I've got my yellow and green. So I'm going to take a bit more yellow to the green. We're going to really zest this up. I love this springy, citrusy green that we can make. Here we go, tertiary colour green. And of course you can carry on changing these colours. You could fill a whole sheet of watercolour, just adding a little bit more blue at a time to change the look of that colour. So, as we were saying earlier, why do you want to go and buy a set of 32 colours? It will just confuse you when you can mix them yourself. Sometimes it's a time element, and you will add another colour to your kit because it's a colour that you like and you use all the time. So why mix it all the time if you use it in large quantities? But generally there's no reason why you can't be mixing them yourself. So we'll go to our purple next. We've got our purple next to our blue. So we're going to create a more bluey purple, more of a, let's put that in there, a bit more blue. We've got this beautiful indigo. Actually it's very akin. We've taken, if you look closely at those colour swatches, we have taken the blue over to more of an ultramarine blue by adding that red to it. So you've taken phthalo to ultramarine, And then I need to counter that back to purple to our mid place and add a bit more red in. And we get this beautiful damson. Okay, so let me just make a note of those around the edge. So those are our tertiary. It's a mixture of your primaries plus an extra bit. So, nice vibrant, all of them are vibrant colours. But what happens when you want to paint something from nature, something that's more natural looking? How do you achieve those grey tones, those browns, without investing in those particular colours? Well, what happens is quite magical with watercolour. If you look at your colour wheel and look at colours that are opposite each other, there's another word coming your way, complementary. So colours opposite, purple, opposite yellow, are complementary and actually work really well together. So we've got green opposite magenta. Think of fields of poppies, green grass, red poppies, how well that works. We've got the blue and orange. Think of night skies with a sunset. You've got the orange glow against the blue. Nature kind of knows what works well together. So we're going to take those colours and we're going to mix them together. So I'm just going to go back to my colour palette you can see here. I'm going to turn this back to my orange. Turn it back to our secondary colour. And then, opposite orange, remember, we have blue. Whoops. There's my orange. Into the orange, we're going to take blue. Do a little bit at a time. Add your blue in. And we'll start to see the change immediately. So now, let me get another sheet of paper. And let's do this orange. So we're starting with the orange. We've added a bit of blue. Look how muted that's starting to go brown already. Beautiful, earthy, natural colours. A bit more blue in. We just need to add a touch more orange there. I added a bit too much richer. There we go, we are orange again. Think of walking along the beach, picking up pebbles. These are the kind of colours we're creating, these lovely, earthy, natural, known as neutral colours. The third colour, if you mix all three primaries together in equal measurement, you are going to get a grey-brown. Okay? So we're just playing around the edges of that by adding a little bit at a time and seeing the range of natural colours you can create. So let's go on and have a look at one of the others. Shall we do, let's do the magenta and the green. I'm running out of space on my palette. Let's grab another palette over. So we're going to take our magenta here. And to the magenta, we're going to add our green. Now, just another pop of magenta in the bottom. I don't actually like using these classic colours, but there we go. And here we have a green and magenta, and see how that again is kind of on a purpley grey, a heather light grey. Something again that you would see in nature on a pebbly beach. Pick up that perfect pebble, and those are the kind of colours you're going to see. So we've done that. Now what other one do we need to do? Purple and yellow. Purple and yellow. We're going to go. My purple's already mixed here, so I'm going to pop a little bit of yellow in. First portion of yellow, and taking us down the brown route. Look at that. A little bit more yellow, still quite ready. Touch more yellow. There we go. Akin to a burnt umber. And then let's mix all three primaries together. Blue, and magenta, make that lovely purple, and then our yellow. touch more red in there. And we have our grey. Or you can make it brown. If you add a bit more red, you'll go brown. Here we go. Haynes grey, Friends grey, created from your primaries. Doesn't that swatch of sheets? Compare the two. These are the ones we were doing earlier. Vibrant, beautiful colours. Those were the purples that we mixed that didn't work well because the red has the element of yellow in there that's hidden. And these are the earthy, beautiful colours that you could imagine using in a landscape. In your colours, as opposed to using a single colour from a tube, is granulation. Have you heard that term, granulation? Well, granulation happens when you're mixing colours in the way that I've just been showing you. And what will happen on the page, and we've got a perfect example happening right in front of me here with this grey that we mixed a few seconds ago. The colours in your washes will separate from time to time, particularly when you're using blues. Blues are a heavy pigment and they will tend to sink into the paper first. So any reds, if you've mixed this heathery grey, will separate out slightly and you get this granulation of colours on your paper. It gives you a freshness to your work and you can really see that. So not only are you saving money and you're learning and educating yourself every time you mix a new colour, but you're also getting really fresh, vibrant work. So, mixing colours, understanding your primaries. Tell everybody about the red and the magenta, because anyone that I speak to, you ask their primary colours, they all say red. And now we know that that's not true. Secondly, and most importantly for me, it's that harmony that you create in your painting, because they have all come from that core base of colours. So what you put down on that paper is absolutely going to work together because it's coming from the same place. I have had students in class before have sent me pictures of their work, and I know instantly that it's a tube colour, particularly with greens. That's always a telltale one, that they've just squirted out a tube of green and it jumps off the page from the rest of their work. So go on, have a go, start mixing your colours. I'll see you again soon. Happy painting. Bye for now. Bye.